There you go.
Yay! 1 minute left to spare, no problems, right? Ooh,
God,
do you have a water for me? That is a good. That looks so delicious, Rob.
I know water, huh?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Smith's. Smith's $2
Smith.
and fifty
Oh, that's
cents a
my
case.
favorite brand. ACDC. Oh, ADHD. I
Oh
love
yeah,
your
it's not.
shirt. That's
It's not
cute.
ACDC. Yeah,
No.
it's ACDC font. I know, isn't that awesome?
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Now I need to do a cool T-shirt next time.
Yeah, I found this place. I can't remember, but it was $6.
Oh,
Yeah,
even
they'll
better.
pretty much print anything you want.
Cool.
Yeah, and,
Thanks,
of course, it's $48 for shipping.
Yeah.
but but anyway, so yeah, we got 12:59. I know this kind of worked out. I was like, oh, and now I remember what it was. I got the one bug. I kept inviting you to a non like hangout kind of address.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you got it
So
worked out.
Gmail is the key, right? It has to be Gmail.
Yeah. Right.
So, but anyway, so we're live now for 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get this thing underway. Let's see, what am I looking for? There we go. So today I wanted to. It was funny. Rebecca and I were talking the other week about something else. I mean, it's always relevant. It's the MLS stuff. We don't really talk much other things. So anyway, and then it came up in conversation that there was going to be an increase, and I was like, oh boy, yeah, that goes up like a lead balloon. I know that. So, and then and I've come to realize that after a few drillings that the MLS really has kind of our back. And I'm as cynical as anybody, as cynical as they come. So, and I say that, because at first I get upset, and then I ask questions. I go, okay, that makes sense. So anyway, so I said, well, what can I do to help? And Rebecca said, well, let's do another hangout. So here we are. So we're live. We got it all worked out. The bugs are working. It's saying live. I mean, both of us can see each other.
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So without further ado, I want to bring on Rebecca Jensen, who, whether you know it or not, is the CEO of the WFRMLS or UtahRealEstate.com. So Rebecca, why don't you come on and introduce yourself?
Well, as you said, I'm the CEO, and I've been here as CEO since 2007, and I've worked for the MLS since '98. And yeah, I don't know where you want me to introduce, but
Well, most people don't. I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, most agents think that realtors own Realtor.com, so I need to keep reintroducing you every time. So, because obviously they don't get it.
well, and that is, our ownership comes up quite a bit. And just to be clear, I don't have any ownership in this company. The MLS is owned wholly by 3 realtor associations.
Right.
So the Salt Lake Board, the Northern Wasatch Association, and the Utah County Association. So we are owned and governed by realtors. My board of directors is comprised of 6 realtors, and they set the direction and the tone and do things like increase fees, and it's with a lot of thought and deliberation, and a dues increase affects them just as much as anybody else. So
Right.
It's not something that they took lightly. We didn't just decide in a half an hour to do this. It took a lot of thought to go into it. But yeah, we did decide to do that recently. And pretty much as soon as we decided to do it, we got our messaging out and we wanted to announce it and let people know. The dues increase will go into effect in the middle of January. So on January 12th, which is a Monday, that's when the old fee structure will go away and the new fee structure is in. And the changes are simple. It's $5 per month across the board.
Okay. So for those, I had the privilege of knowing like a week in advance. And so what I did, the moment they announced it, the Monday it hit the email, I went on and I paid for another year. So,
right.
I mean, hello, I wasn't, I had that information, and I was really tempted to go on and pay for a year in advance, but I figured, no, I'm not going to use that insider information, if you will. I waited for the public announcement, and then I immediately paid.
And people still have that opportunity now. Although we haven't done a dues increase in years and years and years, we've always sort of followed the same type pattern, which is to announce it early. So for people like you and others that want to prepay, that opportunity exists now, and it continue to exist until January 12th.
Right.
The thing you need to know about that, however, is that we have a no refund policy. So
Right.
if you choose to pay for a year and then get out of the business after a month, then you forfeit the rest of that money.
Yeah,
So
those people wouldn't pay for a year in advance anyway, so I'm not worried about it.
we'll see. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see. Generally, we have more people that start paying for a year in advance. And so consequently, it's kind of weird because we don't actually see more revenue for a while if people do that. There's kind of a lag between the time they pay and then the time it expires, and they have to
Right.
sign up under the new structure. So
Yeah.
but that's basically the mechanics of it. But I think more important to talk about is the reason that my
Right.
board of directors chose to raise fees.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah, and I really, really appreciate you giving me the opportunity in this forum to explain why we're doing what we're doing. So there are a lot of reasons, but I think the most important reasons are as follows. First of all, we write our own software, and it is expensive. Although we save a lot of money by keeping it in-house. I know firsthand what other MLSs pay for their vendor software, and it's a lot more than what we do. However, that doesn't mean that our costs stay steady, especially with new technology coming out. And so right now we have different mobile apps that are available, one for Apple and one for Android. However, the Android app, we tried to do it in a way that was more economical, and honestly it just turned out to be buggy. And so if you're an Android user, I'm not telling you anything you don't know if you've tried to download and use our app, but we thought that it's very important for us to sort of redo the Android app the right way, and it's going to cost resources to do that. So the main initiative is to make sure that our mobile offering is what we want.
Okay.
So,
why is Android? Why is that harder, more challenging to write for?
well, we tried using a platform. It's called, I don't know how geeky we want to get here, but it's called Titanium, and it was essentially the philosophy of you write the code base once and it should translate to both applications, iOS and Android. And it did really well for iOS, but it was too buggy for Android. So which means that we have to kind of take that apart and start from scratch on the Android development and develop two different platforms completely to make sure that it works right. But when we're looking at the demographics of our users and the number of people that have Android, it's not something that's a small number. It's equally important as iOS. So the board said, we need to have this yesterday, and what's it going to take to do it? And I'm going to need to hire another developer. So that's part of where the dues increase is going. And this is a plug. If you know any software engineers that would like to work for an awesome company, we have a job posting available right now on monster.com, or you can email us in at devjobs, D-E-V, like developer, jobs, J-O-B-S, at utahrealestate.com. We would love to have any referrals that you can give us. So that's number one priority for us, is to bring our mobile apps up. And this was also something that was mentioned in our surveys that we've done. Realtors want us to have better mobile application. So we're responding to that, and it costs money to do it. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
There are a couple other things. We also, through our survey and through just talking to people in the community, have heard a number of times that syndication is a huge issue. UtahRealEstate.com's consumer-facing website is a tremendous asset, but it's time for it to be refreshed and updated. As you know, the other websites out there, who shall remain nameless, right?
The
unregulated sites, as you like to call them, which I love. You know, they have a lot of time and energy spent on their consumer-facing site, and so we want to give it a fresh look and feel, and then start marketing it locally here for Utah's consumers. For the serious people that are looking for a transaction, we're not doing it to compete necessarily with those websites on the entertainment value and try to just measure everything through number of hits, but we do very much want to drive more traffic.
Number of hits, who cares about number of hits? I mean,
exactly.
Statistics show that less than 0.5% of the people viewing those sites are actually buyers. So, I mean, based on the number of hits versus the number of actual buyers, so who cares?
Right. So, but we're tailoring.
One yes over 30,000 no's, you know.
Yeah, definitely. definitely. But having said that, we need it's time for a facelift on that site and to do some consumer marketing. And the whole
So
point of that is to drive traffic and leads back to our subscribers here. And marketing is expensive, and we want to do it right. So we are engaging a research firm to help us interview consumers and do some market research for Utah, because we are a different market. We have different websites that we compete with, and so that is also where your money is going to go.
got it. So I had a thought, but hence the shirt. I don't remember what it was.
Okay, it'll come back to you. That's all right.
But we're talking about leads, right? So
Yeah.
I remember when I first was posting. There was some good things coming out of the WFR. I was at a user group meeting, and that was the meeting we had the other week. And I said there was some good things, and it was a little bit because I think it was right after the news was announced about the increase, and it was mentioned in the increase about leads. So one of the comments in a Facebook group was, well, how are they going to distribute leads? So I guess there's and then I saw another one that was they were talking about now they're generating leads or something. So my understanding is that you are not generating leads. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, we will be advertising to consumers to go to Utah Real Estate, but at the end of the day, when any consumer becomes a lead, meaning they email or try to contact the agent, they're contacting one of our subscribers. They're not contacting somebody here internally that's going to farm it back out to somebody at the highest dollar. That's not at all our business model. That might be on some sites, but ours just goes straight back to whoever the contact is on that particular listing. And that's up to the individual listing agent or listing broker. Some people have lead routing within their office, and so they have, for example, an email address that goes into their lead routing system. They handle that on their end. We just simply send that information to wherever that listing agent tells us on the listing, and that's it.
So whatever email address the agent uses in their subscription.
That puts it on the listing in the contact information, or the phone number, same thing. Some people have special phone numbers so they can track where calls are coming from.
Right.
But if you do that, that's up to you to do. We don't do that for you.
Right.
We just
so in other words, you're not going to generate a lead. You're not going to go out, generate leads, take a pile of them, and sell them back to agents.
No, that is not at all our business model.
All right.
Nope.
I knew that, but...
Yeah, no, that's great to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think when they hear the lead gen, because that's what other sites do.
They absolutely do, and they actually use the verbiage, you need to buy your listing. And I disagree with that. The board disagrees. We've never done that. We always just send it back to whoever that listing is.
Then there's even brokers that do that.
Sure, there are, and if they do that, that's their choice. Well, their own broker policy. We don't get in the middle of that.
Yeah, the agent choose to hang their license there and let the broker sell them back leads.
Well, I mean, there's all different models, and we don't comment on the different brokers' business models. But if they have a listing on Utah Real Estate and it generates a phone call or an email, it goes to wherever they want it to go.
Perfect. Okay, I like that idea.
Great.
So basically the cost is going to, so the increase is going to hire a developer. Okay. So and then it's going to go to marketing, correct? How many are we hiring?
And
one
market
developer, 2, 3, 4 developers?
Right now we have one job opening available, and then we're also going to spend part of that money on a market research firm to do consumer research, and then a large part of that will go into actual marketing. So once we get the results back from the marketing firm, we'll determine whether we're going to do a radio ad or a billboard or just do it all online, or however it's the best way to approach it, depending on how consumers in Utah are finding our website and what tools they are using. Because we're different in Utah than across the nation. We're not going to assume anything on this. We're going to do
real estate, some things there's a lot of commonalities, but, Utah's definitely different.
We have a much younger demographic across the board.
Right.
So,
well, for example, like KSL, Craigslist is like, but KSL dominates.
In some spaces, yep.
Right, and in other parts of the country, Craigslist is everything. So anyway, so that's good. So we got one developer. I mean, 10,000 members. That's 50,000 a month. You know, I mean, I don't need to know exactly what these guys are making, but I'm assuming you can hire a pretty good developer for 50 grand, right? A month.
Well, and that's again not all going to a development cost.
Yeah.
Marketing is so incredibly expensive.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you look at the cost of doing a single radio ad to produce that and air it just a few times, it's
Right.
very high.
Well,
So
you know my idea, right? And I'm like a broken one-string banjo, bang, 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 and I'm not going to get off my message until the leadership does it. And that is create a video one time, make it generic enough, or the agent can brand it. Even I would be willing to pay you, you know, say $25, stick my logo on my version and save it for me, whatever it costs. But if you made a video that would promote either, you know, a utahrealestate.com, you know, or, you know, and not to bash the unregulated sites, but they're simply unregulated. They're inaccurate. The research shows that the people buying and answering phones on those ads are not always forthright. I mean, to the tune of 45%. I mean, we're not talking about one or two, you know. So that's not a good number. So if we had a video, if all the agents had a video that was like a 30, 60-second video that they could plaster social media with, I don't think you'll get a bigger bang for the buck.
Yeah.
I really don't. And we're going to stand that until somebody proves me wrong or shoots me in the head. So
no, I think it's a great idea. I really do. So we're looking at all different types, and social media will be a big part of whatever we do. That's guaranteed. And we already have a Facebook page, so a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, to improve that and to get more traction that way, that'll just be one of the many facets that we'll use.
Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of people all the time. You know, they'll post their. I mean, because you can post your listing from the MLS to Facebook, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So
and then it links back to utahrealestate.com.
Yep.
And me personally, I won't do that because I don't link anybody to any site that I don't own, and that's not a reflection on you. But I want them on my site, not on yours.
Which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not a reflection on your site. It's just
it's just how you do business. Some people don't have their own sites, and they like to link it too, and so yeah, we see both.
Yeah. So obviously you're going to spend the money on the research, and I know that can get pricey, but it's a one-time cost. So
yeah,
you know, where this is a monthly fee with a one-time cost, so that's maybe 1 month, and then and then we got the research and we're off. So what kind of turnaround time are we looking at on a research project? Like, I mean, I don't even know what's involved in that.
Oh, well, that's not going to take that long to do a research project. But then after that, the majority of the cost on the marketing end is going to be in actually doing the messaging. Like I said, whether it's on radio or on a billboard or what have you, that's going to be throughout the year. And each time you do a marketing piece or a placement, it costs money.
Right.
So, and then the software engineering part, I mean, technology is not going away. So that will be something that once we hire somebody, they'll stay on staff. It's not going to be a contract position. It'll be a full-time employee.
Got it. So we can't outsource that to India or something? No, I mean.
We do outsource some of our development there, but not our core products.
No, I know.
We want to keep core inside. But we do use some outsourcing to the Philippines.
Yeah, if you got projects here and there. I mean, because I do. I have guys that write code for me. Yeah,
it's just hard because of the time change on that. They're 12 hours ahead, and so we want people to be here and responsive to our customers when we need them.
Right. India actually has a half-hour time zone difference. It's like
Afghanistan the same way. Isn't that weird?
Like 13 and a half hours. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So, but anyway. So speaking of the syndication / unregulated sites, are you open? Are you able to talk about the things we talked about in our meeting?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me just we had a syndication user group meeting where we had some great participation and turnout, including Rob, and we talked about what the MLS should be doing next with respect to the issue of syndication. So people may or may not have attended our events, which we held this year. We had some speakers come out just to address the topic, and then we wanted to start the conversation about what should the MLS be doing besides education. We had a wonderful Q&A session after the last speaker, and there were a number of ideas that we wrote down, and we simply took those ideas and vetted them through this user group. So the user group had several recommendations that we are looking into. Some of them involve technology, some of them don't, and I actually have a list here so I don't forget any of them. One thing that the user group was unanimous about, I know, is that UtahRealEstate.com is a good option to using some of these other sites, and so we should beef up that website and market it to consumers, and that's where you talked about the video and doing social media, and the board of directors is fully on board with that, so that is absolutely something we'll be doing in 2015. We will be doing more education, and we have locked in our next date for a broker luncheon. That is Friday, February 20th. So we will open up the registration for that in January, but for now, save the date, February 20th, which is a Friday. And so the group, the user group that we held, recommended that we have a broker panel from people here in Utah to discuss the pros and cons of syndication. And so we have a list of people that we're contacting, and we'll release who has accepted our invitation when we open up registration in January. But it'll be a discussion, and we will also have roving microphones so we can get some great audience participation and really kind of vet some of these other recommendations of the user group. And so the other recommendations are that we need to change our technology. And one of the attendees of this user group showed us how he watermarks the photos with his name and phone number before they go out to these unregulated websites. And I thought it was a great idea. I think most of the people in the room thought it was an awesome idea. And so we're looking into, yeah, the possibility of us doing that for everyone here just on syndicated listings.
So specifically, what does that mean?
So this would not be on your IDX listing. So if you have robaubrey.net, I think that's your domain, isn't it? Right?
Aubrey.net, robaubrey.com.
Yeah, so wherever your
Call me anything but lateforDinner.com, you know.
Yeah, but you don't want to be advertising the name and phone number of all the other agents in Utah on your personal IDX website. So we are not going to be doing that. This watermarking would just be going out to those unregulated websites. So we're separating really the IDX data feed that feeds brokers' websites versus these portal websites.
So the watermark is going to go, so when a person, so I take a listing, I publish my, I go out there on my cheap phone and take 12 pictures, all fuzzy and all that kind of stuff, and then I push them up to the web, to the MLS. So then the MLS is going to take those photos and put my name and phone number in them before they hit these unregulated sites?
That was the recommendation. And again, I haven't vetted any of this. That's cool. All right. Yeah, I haven't vetted any of this. I still need to get this approved through my board with timing and everything, but that was the general idea, and I think it looked cool. I thought it made a lot of sense. So,
yeah.
And
why not?
Yeah. I mean, with anything, it's just going to be where do we put that in the priority list with respect to development?
Right.
That's always the question. Is it more important than this project, such as mobile? And so I think kind of on that, we'll look at that this summer because there are a couple other technology changes that will most likely come about this summer. But before I get to those, let me finish up on what the user group recommended.
Okay.
So the other thing that they wanted to see was 2 separate remarks fields. One remarks field that would, again, go out to the IDX and just go into the MLS public website field, but then have a separate remarks field for syndication. And the rules on the syndication remarks field would allow you to put your name and your phone number and your contact information and whatever else you want to appear on those portal sites. So again, treat those separately. And then we have been working with our syndication partner ListHub, and I've been in constant conversation with them actually about what changes are going to come through ListHub. They've told us that they are working on listing level syndication. So the way the process works right now is the broker decides on behalf of every listing in the office where all listings are going to go. There is no option on an individual listing to either send it to site X or site Y or not. It's all or nothing. And so List Hub is working on the functionality to say, okay, MLS number 3456 is going to go to site X, but not to site Y.
Okay.
And allow that flexibility. So they have told us that that will most likely be ready in the summer of 2015. So it might make sense for us at that point. I think we'll have our mobile and our marketing underway so we can shift focus to syndication and implement the List Hub changes, the remarks changes, the watermarking changes, all of that at the same time this summer. That's a guess, but that's kind of where I see it heading.
Right. And who knows, you know, I mean, I'm assuming they have an educated guess of when they're going to be done, but who knows?
This summer, yeah. I mean, it's hard on software engineering projects to give an exact date when it's 6 months down the line. So we'll know more. I'm actually meeting with Realtor.com in January, and so I can bring back an update then. And I guess the user group also talked about Realtor.com and the accuracy issues. And so that is something that we immediately acted upon, which was, if you see any accuracy issues with Realtor.com, please let me know, and we have a contact that works just on our account, and they will fix any accuracy issues. So just forward them our way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it can happen. I mean, there's, you know, I mean, when you have, you know, 900 MLSs, I mean, it's bound to happen. But I think theirs is more of a kind of a glitch than a we're not going to take your listings down. You know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was a bug of some sort, but who cares? You know, at the end of the day, your listing is either accurate on the website or it's not, and if it's not, I want to know about it, and we'll help you fix it, and we'll do it pronto. So, yeah.
Right. What I was referring to more of some of the other unregulated sites that just never take listings down, so they appear to have more listings.
Oh yeah, Realtor.com doesn't do that.
Right. So, and then that's the other thing we talked about too, was, you know, because we have consumers come to us with a listing, and see, if we drive them to utahrealestate.com and they search, and there's a, you know, they got 5 listings, and if they go to an unregulated site and they got 10 listings, well, now they don't know what the expression is. You give someone a watch, they know what time it is. You give them 2, they're not sure. So when, you know, so now they're not sure what time it is. So they're not sure which one's right. And then, of course, we're on the phone with them going, oh, here we go again, you know. So it's I want a video for that one too, right? So that when, you know, when a consumer calls with 12 listings that are not available, watch this video, call me back, you know. But I think, part of the issue is if a sale is pending or if it's closed, that, you know, they can at least, it just disappears from our search.
It does.
So our IDX, my IDX, will specifically say that property is no longer an active listing, and then it'll show them 5 other homes in the area or whatever. It'll show them homes in the area. We've talked about that's something we could do, is to say this listing is no longer available. It may be pending, sold, expired, or whatever. Call your agent. Is that
right? So expand the IDX feeds and consequently utahrealestate.com to include off-market listings. And the recommendation from the user group was to just have a brand new status, and I think the recommendation was transaction is pending or closed, something kind of.
My thoughts would be not to say that, because I want it generic enough to make them call. Because if you tell a buyer it's sold, well, then they know there's no more conversation.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's sold, so they're going to move on. Why? They don't even want to ask anymore. I want them to call me to find out what happened.
So, and that'll be something that, again, we take to a user group, a syndication user group, and others to say, okay, what is the best wording? Because I think one of the other recommendations was exactly that, call agent for transaction details.
Right, something
like that, something descriptive. And so, but the general idea is just to expand the number on the website, and it does make sense, because you're right, they just disappear right now, and it also adversely affects our SEO, because Google and the other search engines don't like data to disappear. So they rank you down on that, so it would also help us on the
so so then the URL would still exist.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't even pay attention to Utah Real Estate URLs. So does it have like it'll say utahrealestate.com/ I guess, because we always look at it I don't look at it from the public side.
Yeah.
So
no, there's a URL for every listing. Yeah.
I see the search string and everything in there, so I don't really see the results.
No, you can deep link as a consumer And that's how the Facebook things work, right? And so, yeah, there are URLs that essentially disappear right now on the site when the listing is no longer active. So again, yeah, that's a recommendation that we would make. And then the user group also made a recommendation to change the listing agreements to give more protection for brokers that choose to syndicate against any lawsuits that might happen, because that listing data stays out on the internet, and maybe the buyer or the seller doesn't want it to be out there, and then what kind of control does the broker have? So to get
not so much control, what kind of liability?
Control, liability, all of that. And what is the division going to do if they do have some control and they don't do anything about that? In fact, I did speak to the division director about that very issue, and he indicated that if brokers do have control to take it down and they don't, then they might be in violation of a division statute. So, you know, to take all of that.
If the broker does have control and they don't, then that's wrong answer.
But, you know, from the standpoint of brokers, if one of these unregulated websites changes their functionality and doesn't let you know, and all of a sudden you have control to do things that you didn't know, and you could still get in trouble for that, you know, it just puts people in a sticky situation. So to try to tighten that up a little bit through information on the listing agreement was another direction that the wanted us to take, and so we'll definitely look into that as well.
Right, because and that's the thing. So for those, you know, that go to the MLS, right? There's that blue link above the main image, right? It says syndication, right? And you know, we talked about it even in our user group. You know, it's like I think I was the only one that's read anything on there, so it's kind of like, you know, it's like hello, you know, I mean that's what it's there for. So So I want to get this right on the record. If you go in there, I mean, you drill down, there's terms of service, right? So I'm going to put it in front of the screen so it looks like I'm looking at you. So the terms of service, right? So one of the terms of the unregulated sites, you grant us, you know, I'm not going to use their name, an irrevocable, perpetual, worldwide license to use, copy, distribute, transmit, publicly display, publicly perform, reproduce, edit, modify, and translate your submission in connection with the services or in any other media, and sublicense these rights to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law. We will not pay you for your submission. We may remove your submission at any time. For each submission you represent that you have all rights necessary to grant us the rights in this paragraph. So basically, we as a broker, I give them pretty much, I just forego all my rights and give them all rights, and I have no say in what they're going to do with that data after that point.
Right. That is, they have some very broad license agreements out there. And especially if you choose to syndicate directly, like via Postlets or some of these others where you just upload them directly. The license agreements are very tight on those. We do have some protections. That's one of the benefits that we have using ListHub, is that they negotiate bulk licenses for us. And then it's not just us here in Utah that have those terms to negotiate with. It's every MLS using ListHub. So that's another reason we use that service. And we get some better terms that way.
So we can get bulk bargaining power. So, you know, I guess it's only a matter of time before a broker is sued because of data being out there that shouldn't be.
That's what everyone's waiting for. Yeah, it's like walking on eggshells, and a lot of people talk about it. And you know, it's the black swan event that's going to happen at some point.
So, well, the good news is, I mean, because the number one cause of lawsuits is assets, right? So, I mean, there's brokers out there with a lot more money than me, so I'm not as worried as some of the guys with deep pockets should be, you know, because that's, you know, I mean, they're not, I mean, I don't know, who knows, you know, but I mean, it could get ugly. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, do you recall Utah legislation that said, they used the analogy of the police pulling a guy over. The guy ran somebody over with his car. The police saw it. The 100 witnesses, they rode down the street, pulled the guy over, asked for his driver's license, didn't have a license, so they had to let him go. So they were using that analogy that we had to give the Division of Real Estate the ability to go after and police people that were performing real estate without licenses. Say an investor that's doing things, why do there's why do groups not want to be? I always think that So anyway, so if people are behaving inside of the real estate corral, if you will, the division has the ability to go after them. Are you aware of anything like that?
I know generally the law. I'm not a lawyer, but I know the law that you're talking about. If if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck, is basically the gist of that law, saying if you do certain things, represent people in a real estate transaction, then you're acting as a licensee, even if you're not licensed. So
So is it fair to say that if an unregulated site was advertising a home for sale that was no longer available for sale, would they not be in violation of Utah law that says you have to have a permission from the seller?
I wouldn't want to comment on that, not being a lawyer. It's an interesting thing to ask, but I think the more compelling issue there is that the licensees that are advertising it still and it's not for sale is a clear violation of Utah law.
Right.
You cannot
if you got a license,
property that you don't have a listing agreement for, and if that has switched to another owner and you're still advertising it, then you're in violation.
Right. So, well, because the big guys are unregulated companies. So here's the question I have. So then, if an agent signed over all their rights, so then can they force these unregulated companies to just take them down? How's that work?
Well, that is some talk as far as can you go in and take them down, and what do you have to do in order to take them down? And you know what? It's issues like this and others that's the reason that we created that syndication website, so people can share their experiences. So again, not to plug that website, but I do want people to go there. It's like syndication.utahrealestate.com. We have a whole list of all of these unregulated websites, and there's a blog that our subscribers can just go in and talk about these issues with respect to that site, because some of them might give you the ability to remove your listings, but at what cost, and have people done it, and what has their experience been? So that's one of the reasons that we created that blog, is so our subscribers can help each other with this issue, 'cause it's pretty complex.
Well, it's interesting. The other thing I wanted to say in there is an addendum that it's written by, who's it written by? National
NAREP,
NAREP, which is kind of like NAR without the politics, I guess. NAREP is National Association of Real Estate Professionals. So, the NAR has boards of like 140 people, committee. My God, I don't know how anything gets done. I think 7's like too many. So, but it is what it is. Yeah. But anyway, on the syndication link that we have, there is a listing addendum from NAREP that gives you language that you can have an addendum as a broker to have your seller sign that relieves you pretty much of the liability. That's
right?
Yeah. So I would encourage agents, to say, hey, take a look at that. To start saying, hey, look, if you insist on pushing this out there to be unregulated, then you need to take all the liability.
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's just wait, like you said, what is it, black swan event, where we're just waiting for someone to sue somebody.
Well, and hopefully we can be preventative, and by things like the listing addendum and just having a simple conversation with your clients to let them know this is what happens if you choose to put it on one of these websites. It might not come down, it might be inaccurate, the price changes might not be reflected right away. So that's why we're just trying to educate people, because there are a lot of people that love to use these websites, and we're not saying that you shouldn't. We're just saying, here are some issues that you need to know about and deal with them with your client. Once you go to syndication.utahrealestate.com, we have the menu bar at the top, and I believe that link is on the resources link on the right.
Yeah, it's in the on the right. Well, at top it says resources and downloads.
Yep. So if you click on that, and then it's just right on that page.
For NAREP.
And I believe that's also the same page that we videotaped our presentations for the two speakers we had out. So if you missed our luncheon event, you can still see what happened there. It was great conversations. We fully intend to videotape the one coming up on February 20th. Okay. And we'll post it there.
They're not live. They're just recorded, correct?
They're just recorded. Yep.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I think we stream them live too, though, during the event. Is that right? Yeah, we stream them live as well. So if you want to watch it live, that's fine.
Sure.
But then if you missed it, then you can watch it later.
Right. Yeah. So okay, and then okay. I mean, I personally, I mean, I don't know enough about the actual mechanics and the legal side or the whatever you want to call it, the logistics, the way you do on the syndications, how that works, the list subs, all that kind of stuff. But I think a CE class would be well received, well attended, and because you and I both know that you can give them the keys to the kingdom and nobody shows up.
Yeah.
You can take a turd, dip it in CE, and they all show up.
It's not quite how I would put it, but I get the point, which is you want a syndication class, and the answer is great. We have one. Please sign up. Kevin Dolan is our trainer.
Is it CE?
Yes, it is, and we debuted it at a UAR convention. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we would love to have Kevin come out to your office and discuss syndication and give you an hour of CE.
I'd rather fill the auditorium down at the board.
Well, we offer it, yeah. So
Right.
it's on the, in fact, it's even talked about in the, I don't know if you've seen the broker slide decks that we post the first Friday of every month. We talked about it.
Yes, I'm one of those guys that has the red circle with the number in it. Mine's usually a 1.
Good.
So I actually
On
read
MLS
those.
News, thank you very much.
And I've been telling Kathleen to, instead of posting PowerPoint, put them on Google Docs, Google Slides, so that way they're just a web-based, and it doesn't matter. You don't need PowerPoint to view them.
That's a great recommendation. We can do that.
Sure. Because you guys are using Google Apps, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So you're Rebecca at WFRMLS is a Google Apps account or no?
You know, we have our staff email hosted on Google. Yeah, all of it is.
So is that, but that's not the WFRMLS, or is that Utah Real Estate? I mean,
it's Utah. All of our stuff is hosted on Google for our accounts. We still have agent accounts that aren't because there's a transition.
Anyway,
that's a topic.
WFRMLS email. Geez.
You would not believe how many people still use our WFRMLS.com accounts.
Unbelievable.
It's just people do. So anyway,
I wrote an article. It's called "You Are Your Email Address." I sent out an email one time to 100 loan officers. 50 of them bounced because when the market crashed, they all went to another company. Yeah. You know, and I knew, so I went and cleaned up the list and sent it out again. And they were using their new company's email address. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Guys are morons.
No comment. We just have a lot of people that use it, so we haven't tried to subscribers.
That's the beauty of this conversation because I can say it.
You can say anything you want. It's your hangout. I'm just a happy guest.
Right. But she's over there, you know, underneath she's going, oh, God, I'm so glad he said that, you know. So, but anyway, no denial. So that's usually the no denial is the key, right?
Yeah.
I've been in therapy before.
No comment.
Yeah. So, but anyway, well, that's cool. So let's to make sure everybody's clear. You do not syndicate listings, is that correct? WFR, MLS, UtahRealEstate.com does not syndicate.
We do not automatically syndicate your listings to any website except for Realtor.com and UtahRealEstate.com, and then any IDX websites, and that's an agreement. So when you're talking about any of the portal websites or the unregulated websites, the listings that are on those sites are only there because the broker chose for them to be there.
Okay. So I just, I know that. Again, I hear it so many times. Well, they put our listings. I'm like, well, who told you that? Well, I was talking to an agent in the office. I'm like, really? I'm like, first of all, he's in the office, so he's obviously not making money, so don't listen to him. And the realtors do not own Realtor.com. I mean, I find that interesting how many real estate agents actually believe that Realtor.com is our site. So,
well, the name is owned by the National Association of Realtors. The actual domain name, Realtor.com, is what you see when you go to that domain name, and the software and the people that make it possible are a different company. That is correct. That is moved.
Right.
who was just
So,
acquired by News Corp.
right, and so hopefully they have a better culture, because I know Move used to be homestore.com, and if you Google home store executive sentenced, you'll find some pretty interesting articles. So I'm like, not real excited about them.
But they're completely different people now since that happened, and yeah, they've gone through a number of transitions, and even recently they've gone through transitions since they've been acquired by News Corp. They have different people.
Oh yeah, they got a large help wanted section, that's for sure.
They've definitely made some changes to their staff. So,
right.
And they're, unabashed. They're going to be taking on more of a leading role in the year to come. So I'm excited.
So just another company to sell us leads back on our own assets.
I really do honestly think that Realtor.com is different than the other portal sites. They have involved us in all of the discussion. They are interested in talking to our brokers here to see what their needs are. They're interested in accuracy and representing the realtor, and in every meeting that I've talked about, it is truly how to make realtors successful. Now, yeah, they have to make money at it too, because they're a publicly traded company, and that's the nature of publicly traded companies, but they definitely have realtors' best interests at heart, and they have a license agreement with NAR that says what they can and cannot do. So there is control that realtors have over that website.
Right.
So they're different.
So one last thing. Well, here's the way. Before you just said that different. When I go on their site and I find my listing and I type in my information for more information on my listing, I get an email from another agent. So they're not different. I mean, you can say whatever.
There's some similarities, some differences, but
yeah, they're just another parasite, So. So last but not least, there was recently the NAR was made it by rule, mandate, whatever you want to call it. I don't know their terminology, that the MLS has to publish sold data. Is that correct?
Well, sort of. Yes, there was a rule that changed in the November meetings with respect to sold data being included in IDX feeds. And
IDX, okay.
Yeah, in IDX. So it said MLSs cannot withhold sold information in IDX feeds. But then there was an awesome asterisk that said, except for states such as Utah, where that sold information is not publicly available. And so since that definitely applies to us, and if you read the notes and the discussion that went on in the committee meetings, it explicitly named Utah as an exemption, Utah and Texas, because we're non-disclosure states. And so we do not have to feed out our sold data publicly because of that rule.
So it was just to IDX solutions, that's it? Just IDX?
Yeah, for IDX. It was part of the IDX policy change.
Okay.
And then they also said that MLSs must feed out their data, I think it was every 12 hours, yeah, something like that, which doesn't really affect us because we have a real-time API. So.
Right. So yeah. So because I have so the FTP feeds are they were 24 hours, now they have to be 12. Is that what it is?
Well, I mean, the rule, just like any other NA rule, doesn't say how you have to implement it. It just says the data has to be available every 12 hours. So we are already in compliance with that. But then, since you brought up FTP, one thing that also passed was a rule that said MLSs must adopt all of the RISO standards. And RISO has been kind of a project of mine that I've worked on. I'm the board chair, and so I'm.
And what does RISO stand for?
RISO is an acronym for an organization by the name of the Real Estate Standards Organization, and it's the organization that brought you RETS servers. RETS is kind of the old way of transferring data, but in the past couple of years, RISO has come up with a real-time API. And so we worked with vendors and MLSs across the nation to make sure that we were all in agreement of the way to do this. We also came with a data dictionary that has a definition of all of the real estate terms that you have on a listing, and it will really help software vendors that are using the data come up to speed a lot faster and just be able to plug in their software into any MLS that has implemented this standard and have it work. So it should really reduce costs for any technology in the future that brokers want to adopt, because it'll all be done the same way. So NAR passed a rule that said MLSs must adopt those standards within the next year and year and a half. There's 2 different standards. So I was in full support of that, happy to see that, and we're actually going to be one of the first MLSs to offer that to our subscribers, so I'm very excited about that.
So when you say offer to us, what does that, I'm a little confused.
So the standard is a specification that says, okay, here, for example, this is what the definition of a quarter bathroom is. And as you know, in our MLS, we don't even have a quarter bathroom filled, right?
Oh, we have a 3, I never heard of a 3/4 till I moved to Utah.
Right, and every MLS across the nation before standards has their own way of describing properties, whether it's a status filled or a bathroom filled or any number of things, but this is one standard way to describe it. And so,
I mean, all over the country you'll hear phrases, it's in escrow, it's under, sale pending, where we call it under contract. I mean, pending, I think sale pending is something that a consumer can just read it and know what it means. What does contract mean?
Yeah, people don't know unless they're part of the business. Exactly. So that data dictionary and a new API that's based upon globally accepted technology that a software developer in India could look at our spec and say, oh yeah, I understand what that is. I've played with that sort of technology before. It's just different because of this, the server that I'm plugging into. Yeah, so it'll be super easy. So that's what RESO did, and then NAR said MLSs must implement it, and so we're implementing it.
Sweet.
So we'll be the cutting edge there.
And then so we're exempt from, because we're a non-disclosure, so we're exempt from being forced to give our sold data.
To publicly display any sold data, yes. We do not have to do that. So.
But an individual agent could. I mean, they could generate a PDF and put it out there. I mean, what's the rule on that?
Well, I mean, our policies are unchanged on that. We've always had to respect the use of sold data, and it's basically you have to be using sold data in the course of your business. So, if you have a buyer and they want you to do a CMA, then absolutely you can show them the sold properties that went into calculating the value on that CMA and show them what the market is for the area they're looking.
In other words, you can't just sell sold data for sold data's sake.
Yeah, but if you're trying to generate leads by sending a postcard or putting it on your website of, hey, anyone in 84070, here are all the sold listings, that is not valid use of our sold data. You cannot do that. That remains unchanged because those are not your customers. You're just trying to drum up new business. So
that way we can pay our dues.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your dues, yes. There you go. Knew that was coming.
I have this. I've played with this, and I'm having more fun. I got all kinds of functions. You got all kinds of. You got the drama one. I love that one. So anyway, this is what nerds do. When everybody else are golfing. So anyway. Well, cool. I think that we covered a lot this time, and so to summarize, the MLS does not syndicate our listings; the brokers do. The MLS is working diligently to make our public-facing MLS the premier site, the go-to site, if you will, in the state of Utah. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, eventually you're going to wind up over on utahrealestate.com. That's the intent, right?
Yeah, so we are the place for serious buyers and sellers to go.
Right, there you go. I like that, serious buyers and sellers, because that's that's what we have. And so, of course, if they land on utahrealestate.com, then the listing agent is the only agent displayed on their listing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's not going to be any.
Three-headed monsters.
Yeah, there you go, three-headed monsters. I didn't think of that one, but what was the other one? There was there was a rotation comment made. I won't say it, but the carousel of incompetence. That's what it was. So anyway, I did say it. So you don't syndicate our listings. The broker does, working diligently to make sure that if someone finds our listing, that the listing agent gets the lead.
Correct.
And that and an agent can buy an IDX solution, and they can promote their own solutions and get the leads.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
One more question: what do we got to do to get the unbranded tours on the IDX. What do we got to do to get that?
Oh, you're talking the virtual tours, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The branded tours are the ones that are on the IDX. So
yeah, I think that was just a misunderstanding. So yeah, we can feed out the other link. We already have both links.
Right. So yeah, because I don't want people coming. I spend good hard-earned money, time, and energy driving people to my website. They click on a listing, click on the tour, and it's got the listing agent's information.
Yeah, I don't know how that. The intent there was
that way for a long time.
Yeah. So
to the point where the IDX vendors are actually giving us a toggle to turn off tours.
The IDX vendors are?
Yeah, we can turn off tours because I don't want them on my site.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that we can change. We already have that data. We already have the unbranded tours.
So it's just a question of changing their because the only thing different on the link is just the MLS number, right?
Yeah. Well, we have two different URLs. Two
URLs. That's what I meant.
So I think that our process here to change something like that is there's a notice period per our contracts with our IDX vendors that we're going to change anything. We just have to give them notice, and then we can just change it. It's not a big deal.
Right.
So
can you say immediately you can change it if you want?
Well, we have to give them notice. Otherwise, we're going to breach a contract. But yeah, so we can change it.
You're giving them notice that you're changing it, but because they can't make the change themselves.
Because it's the data that we feed out to them is what needs to change. So anytime
the way I say it, it's just a concatenate rule. Here's the string, drop the MLS number in.
Well, you'd have to know what the URL is per vendor. It'd be easier for us to change it than you.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, and when can we expect something like that?
I think Andrea was in that meeting, and I'll check on the status with her. And she probably already gave them notice. I don't know. I'd have to check with her. That meeting that we had was just,
I know she wrote down big, ugly, yellow, and hairy. So.
That was with something else. I think that was with the nice blue
the banner on the MLS.
That nobody saw because it blended in with our site. It's too pretty.
It blends.
Yes. So Rob's recommendation was don't put anything pretty if you want people to read it, right?
Right.
It needs to be, yes.
Well, if you ever driven down Fort Union Boulevard, how many signs are on Fort Union Boulevard?
I don't know.
Right, but the only one you remember is the one that's yellow, nailed to a pole, and says "Investor Apprentice Wanted." Right, because all the other ones disappear.
They're pretty ugly. Yep.
So the only one that handwritten. If you showed that to somebody on Madison Avenue, they would say you're nuts, smoking crack. But it's the only one that got read. It's the only one you remember. So the guys on Madison Avenue are overpaid. So, they think brand. I think lead generation. So. And they're two different animals. So anyway, all right, that's good. We're running out of time. But as always, thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Kat. Kat's the one that puts this all together.
Yeah,
Rebecca
great
shows
organizing all of this. So.
Yeah, Rebecca shows up, and Kat, they straighten out her office. They make her office look real good.
No, just don't look this way. It's terrible.
Yeah, they move the pictures around on the back, right? So you actually
hide all the piles of paper.
And so our credenza would be a different story. So anyway, that's hopefully, boys and girls, you can learn something from all this. I always do, even though I know a lot of the answers I'm asking. But I actually I always pick up new tidbits of information. And but I can't wait to the February 20th meeting. That's a broker invite. Is that how that works?
Yeah, because we have limited space, and we throw it out to all of our brokers. It's not just a Salt Lake thing. So we have a lot of people attend.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because
we have.
How many boards do you have?
We've got lots of different boards, and we throw it out to everybody. So it's like all the brokers, regardless of which board they belong to, are invited. Right. So and we pretty much sell it out every time. So
well,
not that there's no cost for it. I shouldn't say sell it out. Registration is full. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
There's no cost.
So cool. Okay.
Anyway, well, Rob, I want to just say thank you so much for setting this up. I appreciate the opportunity, and happy holidays.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. See, I'm not politically correct. I don't give a crap. So, see you guys.
Merry Christmas. Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.